Starting.
All right, good afternoon, guys, and welcome to our class at 3 p.m. The reason why I'm only saying class and not specifying the subject per se is because last week I was trying to allude to a lot of us that we are nearing the end of the syllabus in relation to natural sciences, that is grade 7. So yesterday was in fact our last lesson as per annual teaching plan in terms of what we need to do in natural sciences on term 2. However, we are currently busy with an assessment that we will give to you so that we can test everything that I have taught you thus far, and we can see what maybe needs to be revisited, and then we can be able to have a look at that before we obviously go to term 3. Of course, after finding out what our president will be saying to us this evening today. So in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, we will be doing technology as of now. It is still grade 7. The time will remain the same. For those that do not know me yet, my name is Mr. Alex Songo. It is an absolute pleasure to have all of you here today. Thank you so much for those that actually logged in on time. I saw that Megan was here. Welcome, Megan. I saw Amu as well, and I saw Anonymous. And I asked Anonymous kindly to maybe tell us the name so that we can actually refer and speak to them in their name. Nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue with our first lesson in technology. But before going on to the technology lesson, it is important for us to look at the corrections or revisit what we were doing yesterday. At the end of each lesson, I usually give you guys an activity. The activity is meant to simply test if you understood what we're doing and also to see if you guys need to revisit the lessons. Of course, as I've said, these are found on the African Teen Geeks website on YouTube and the YouTube channel there, as well as Facebook, and of course on the internet of African Teen Geeks. Okay, so yesterday these were the questions that should be appearing on the screen right now. The first question was saying the metal that lies below boron. What is that metal that's found below boron? Ladies and gentlemen, the name of that metal is aluminium and the symbol is A. You will see that I've tried to bold the answers as well as put them in the color red so that you can be able to see them. So the answer for that is aluminium, and that is element number 13 in the periodic table. So again, the metal that lies below boron is aluminium. It is element number 13 in the periodic table. Ladies and gentlemen, the symbol for aluminium is A. Okay, as I said, download your own periodic table of elements and have a look at it each and every time when you can so that you can be able to memorize this. But remember, we had a very interesting lesson yesterday wherein we used a song by an artist called B.O.B. The name of the song was called Airplanes. It's found on YouTube, as well as a mnemonic device of a song that parodies B.O.B's song, and then in a way that assists us to remember the first 20 elements, because those are important for grade 7, 8, and 9 as stated in the CAPS curricula. All right, so question number 2, the gas that can be used as a preservative. I explain to people that when we preserve something, it means that we are saving it. We are trying to make it not to spoil or to rot. So preservation, basically, that's what it means. So what is the gas that is important for that? Ladies and gentlemen, the answer for that is number 18 on the elements of the periodic table. The name of that gas is argon, and the symbol is AR. So again, the gas that is important for preserving food is number 18 on the elements in the periodic table. Its name is called argon, and the symbol is AR. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the answers for number 1 and 2. Moving on to number 3, the gas with the atomic number of 7. What is that gas? Ladies and gentlemen, the answer there is nitrogen, and nitrogen is element number 7 in the periodic table of elements. The symbol for nitrogen is N. We then go on to question number 4. We are asking you the metal with the atomic number, which is 19. Ladies and gentlemen, the answer there is what we call potassium. That is our answer. Now you start to realize that in aluminium, in argon, as well as in nitrogen, it was simple for us to simply take the first alphabet or the first 2 alphabets and use them as the symbols. But in certain elements, you cannot do that, potassium being one of them, because potassium in answer number 4 is element number 19 in the periodic table. As you can see, potassium. However, the symbol is not P. The symbol is in fact K. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the case in some of the elements. I have alluded and I said let us be careful of that so that we don't have a misconception of thinking that the symbol of an element is always the first alphabet or the first two alphabets. Ladies and gentlemen, continuing on to number 5. Table salt is a compound. I tried to remind us, and by remind I mean we had a lesson where we explained what elements are, and we said elements exist in their singularity. They are in their simplest form. They are not combined with anything. And then compounds are a combination of two or more elements. So a compound is a combination of two things. I made an example of water, and I said water is a compound because water is H2O, meaning that it's made up of hydrogen as well as oxygen. Hydrogen being the first element, and the symbol of hydrogen, ladies and gentlemen, being H, and oxygen being the 8th element in the periodic table, and the symbol being O. So that is an example of a compound. But in relation to what we are doing here, we are asking that salt, as we know it, is a compound because it's made up of two things. It's made up of Na. I am wondering if we all remember what Na stands for. I wish I could see the answers. But Na, ladies and gentlemen, is in fact sodium, which is the element number 11. So Na, like potassium, the symbol is not SO or S, because if you look at the first alphabet or the first two, the symbol is in fact SA for sodium. So salt is made up of sodium as well as a chloride, in which the symbol is Cl. So basically, salt can also be called, in a scientific word, it's a sodium chloride. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I repeat, so if you want to sound very smart the next time you are sitting in the table and you're having supper with mom and dad and family and friends, you can simply say, please pass me the sodium chloride, because salt is made up of two things, sodium as well as a chloride. I quickly want to have a look at some of the Q&As so that I can see what people are saying in regards to the answers that we just gave from the previous activity, so that we can interact with those responses. Remember what we said, the Q&A is going to be our chat box, which we're using in Zoom, so that it assists us as we go. All right. I see that Kiandra is here. Welcome, Kiandra. Kiandra has always been here from our days with Zoom. Kiandra, we are glad to have you. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here, Kiandra. Truly appreciated. All right. I'm just trying to browse through in relation to some of the responses that are there. I see Tiana is saying something. Tiana, let me quickly have a look at your question. All right, well done, Tiana. We really, really appreciate that. I hope that the song assisted you to be able to learn those elements. Kiandra. Yes, Kiandra is asking a very good question. Tiana, don't worry, you're not too late. We were actually just looking at the activity that we gave people yesterday so that we can be able to respond to that. Tiana, so welcome, you're not late, don't worry. Kiandra is asking, do we need to know the first 20 elements as well as their symbols? Kiandra, yes. So we can use either the mnemonic of the sentences that I gave you in the lesson that we did last week, Friday, or we can use the songs that I also taught you. And remember what I said, we can be able to have a look at those lessons on YouTube and then be able to know them. But you need to know the symbols. So you need to know the first 20 elements, Kiandra, as well as their symbols. Thank you so much. That is an important question. Thank you, Kiandra. All right, so let us move on to what we are doing today in relation to technology. So at the end of this lesson, this is what I hope that we would have achieved. Number one, we are looking at Term 1 technology revision. Again, ladies and gentlemen, let's remember, because of the times that we have found ourselves in, our schooling period had to end very abruptly. What does that mean? It means that it ended, and in some cases, maybe the syllabus was not done to completion. So that's what we want to do. We want to just look at some of the topics that are important in the Term 1 so that we are all on the same pace as we are going on to Term 2 of technology as of the beginning of next week. Number 2, in the objectives, we want to understand what technology is. Now, this is important. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because technology is a new subject. So from grade 1 to grade 6, we've never done technology. We might have done a bit of it in grade 4 to 6 when we were doing natural sciences and technology. But in grade 7, it breaks into two subjects. natural sciences becomes one subject, technology becomes another. So it's important for us to study this technology and actually query in terms of what is it and why is it important for us to learn that. So the last objective for today's lesson is to look at the design process that are found in the technological steps. So what is the design process? We will investigate that, as well as the technological steps. What are they, and maybe how many are they? So that's what we are doing, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope we'll be on the same page, and I hope you are as excited as I am to do technology together. All right. So we have about 24 people that are with us today. Thank you so much to Thiari for that update. Like I said, let's try to have as many people as possible so that they can be able to join us as well, and we can grow the numbers as we did when we were sitting at 68. So let's grow that, and let's create even a bigger pool of participation. So these are the questions that I want us to think about, ladies and gentlemen, as we are doing the lesson. So the first question is, what is technology? So by the end, we should have answered that question. Number two, what is the design process? That question should be also answered by the end. Number three, what are the technological design process steps? So number one, what is technology? Number two, what is the design process? Number three, what are the steps that you find in technology that assist us to design? So let's move. So as we are going, just think about those questions and ask yourself if, as we are going through the slides and the videos or whatever else I have prepared for you, if we are actually responding to that, because that's important. Now, I want to start this by not looking at this long story that's actually showing. I want to start this by playing a video, ladies and gentlemen, because the video, actually two videos, very short. The videos are very good. They give us a nice explanation so that when I go into the words, it will be simple and easy for us to understand. Again, let me try and play the video at the same time, the video that you are seeing on your side, which is the visuals, as well as the audio, which I have because we had to connect the speaker externally. So let's try to do that at the same time. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Today we are going to answer the question, what is technology? When you think of technology, what do you think of? A telephone? A camera? But what about a table or a chair? Would you consider that technology? Let's investigate to find out. In the dictionary, technologies are things created by humans that can make our lives easier or solve problems. All humans have basic needs, such as getting water and food and having a shelter. Technology is a way to make this easier. Instead of going down to the lake to get water, humans invented a way to bring it straight to our homes with indoor plumbing. Some technologies have wires and plug into the wall, like microphones. Microphones help to record sound. Laptops help us get information, type papers, talk to friends, and much more. But some technologies do not have wires at all. Umbrellas help to keep us dry in the rain, and a lock helps to keep our things safe. A pencil helps us write down information, and a fork helps us to eat food. So let's go back to our first question. Is a chair and a table a technology?
Created using Powtoon.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope we're able to see that video. I see that at some point the video and the audio were not matching, but we will get into the second part of another video. Let me try to play that one, and hopefully I will succeed to play it at the same time as the audio. All right. So this is another definition of what technology is, so that we can understand as we are going through this subject what it is that we are actually doing. Okay, I'm just trying to get the audio.
When you think of the word technology, what comes to mind? It might sound like something from a sci-fi show or something that has to run on electricity.
Okay,
technology makes us think of the very
Let me try again. Sorry about that, guys. Okay.
complex, but energy. When you think of the word technology, what comes to mind? It might sound like something from a sci-fi show or something that has to run on electricity. Technology makes us think of the very complex, but energy doesn't have to be complex. Technology is the use of scientific knowledge for practical purposes or applications, whether in industry or in our everyday lives. So basically, whenever we use our scientific knowledge to achieve some specific purpose, we're using technology. Well, there is slightly more to it than that. Technology usually involves a specific piece of equipment, but that equipment can be incredibly simple or dazzlingly complex. It can be anything from the discovery of the wheel all the way up to computers and MP3 players. Since technology can be so simple or so complex, there are many types of technology. One type is mechanical technology, which includes wheels, cams, levers, gears, belts, and engines. Things that turn or allow motion in one direction to cause a different kind of motion are mechanical. The wheel is probably one of the most important technological advances in human history, and yet it's super simple. Perhaps the type of technology that we're most familiar with in modern life is electronic technology, usually just called electronics, which is a complex form of technology that uses electric circuits to achieve a goal. Electric circuits can also vary in complexity. If you have a look at the circuit board with dozens of apparently random pathways mixed in with various components, you know how complex electronics can be. But anything that runs on electricity is electronic. This includes computers, washing machines, dryers, MP3 players, car radios, televisions, anything you plug into the wall outlet. You can also split technology into types based on purpose. There's industrial and manufacturing technology, medical technology, communications technology, and others. Industrial and manufacturing technology is technology with the goal of either producing a product on a large scale or performing another large-scale function where customers are not directly.
Today we are going to answer the question.
All right, guys, thank you so much for your patience. So that's the end of our video. I want to quickly go back to the PowerPoint so that we can actually investigate more in detail what technology is. But before that, let me just have a look at the Q&A because that's absolutely important. All right, so let's see. All right. Don't be shy, guys. Say as many things as you want to say there. Of course, with all amount of respect as well as courtesy for everyone that will be actually viewing that so that we can move the lesson forward. All right. I don't know why I'm not browsing down to see other responses, but let's continue. I think maybe my network is a bit slow. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, the videos are simply trying to explain what technology is. I am going to reiterate what the videos are saying. Number one, technology is the use of knowledge. Knowledge is obviously coming from what it is that you know. The word knowledge, if you check it, there's knowing. So that's knowledge. Then there's skills, there's values and resources, which are meant to meet the needs of people. So that's what we are doing. So you want to solve a problem. Now the solution needs to be practical. What does practical mean? It means usable, accessible, and not too complicated. There were examples that were given there, ladies and gentlemen. One of the examples that we can think of right now as we are speaking. The problem that we were facing initially was that schools closed down. We are not able to go to school to have interactive lessons. But because of technology, which is e-learning, so we are basically using laptops, we are using phones and other devices so that we can be able to continue with learning. So we have solved a problem using technology. And obviously what is happening, we are using also the internet in that regard so that we can be able to interact. So that's basically technology. There is a problem, then you come up with the solution. The solution needs to be practical and user-friendly. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, in one of our lessons that we spoke about impact to the environment. And impact to the environment were nothing else but pollutions. So each and every time you are coming up with a solution, you need to think about the impact to the environment. How will you impact the environment? And we always try not to impact it negatively. What does that mean? We are trying not to pollute the environment in any way. So these solutions that we are talking about, they come in a form of a product, something that you can hold, something that is tangible. You might remember that in the first term in technology, you are required to make what we call the jaws of life. Now, the jaws of life, so you make a model of that. And in term one, we said the jaws of life are meant to protect people who find themselves in accidents. For an example, a cutter or a spreader. So then we investigate about the jaws of life. We then use materials such as cardboards, wires, etc., to create a model of a jaw of life. So that comes in the form of a product. All right, so bullet number 3, everything that we are using, like I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, is a form of technology. And as the videos are saying, technology can come in a simple thing that you might not even take into cognizance, such as a cup, but it is actually a form of technology because it didn't exist a long time ago. So, and obviously into the computers and devices that we are using right now. Now, there are a lot of careers in technology that we obviously need to start thinking about as we are in the senior phase, which is grade 7 all the way to grade 9. So you might want to pursue a career in technology. And I've just put some of the examples of things that you can do. You can become an artisan, an engineer, a surveyor, an architect, a graphic designer, and ladies and gentlemen, even a scientist. So you might actually be someone that comes up with a vaccine to assist and protect us from the current pandemic being the coronavirus. So those are, I'm just making an example, of course. So those are just some of the careers you might want to explore. So it's a very interesting subject, and I hope we'll all enjoy it as we are starting with it as of today. All right, let me move on to the next slide. All right. So I spoke about the design process being one of the things that are objectives for today's lessons. So what is the design process? Ladies and gentlemen, the design process is a set of steps that we use so that we can plan to make a product. So you don't just wake up in the morning and see a problem and solve it on the spot. There are steps that guide you in terms of planning to solve whatever problem. And basically that is the design process. A steps that is plenary in terms of how do you solve the problem and produce a product. So that's what we are actually doing, and that is what the design process is. So let's look at these further steps. So ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that you need to know is that there are actually 5. And yes, unfortunately, you need to memorize and remember them in the order in which they are said. But I will teach you again how we can easily memorize and remember them. Ladies and gentlemen, the first one is identify. The second one is design. The third one is make. The fourth one is evaluate. And the last one is communicate. As you can see there, I'm moving the cursor around that illustration. So all of these are working together at the end to achieve the product. So those are the 5 steps that we find in technology. So the first thing that I want you to do is memorize the mnemonic word, which is called IDMEC. So that's IDMEC. I repeat, IDMEC, IDMEC. So memorize the word IDMEC. If you memorize the word IDMEC, you will be able to remember all 5 steps that are found in technology. So the I in IDMEC stands for identify. But what do we mean when we say identify? Identifying, ladies and gentlemen, in the true sense of the English word, it is simply to find information about the need as well as the problem. So you identify the problem or the need so that you can then start investigating how do you solve that problem. So that's the first one. The D in IDMEC stands for design. So you draw up a design brief. The word says it itself, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a design, it's a brief. Something that is brief is usually very short and to the point. So what is a design brief? A design brief is a short and clear statement that explains the problem and how you're going to solve it. I repeat, a design brief is a short and clear statement that explains the problem and how you're going to deal with the problem. So a question like this, a terminology or a word like this might come in the form of true or false, in technological one-word answers, or in match columns. So you need to also remember that design brief is nothing else but a short and clear statement. I said that means it's to the point. It explains what the problem is and how we are going to solve the problem. So for an example, I spoke about the coronavirus pandemic and how that was a problem in terms of learning. So a design brief would be, because of the coronavirus, normal schooling in terms of face-to-face is unable to happen. So that is the problem, number one. We intend to solve the problem by creating an online e-school through African Teen Geeks that we'll call the lockdown e-school. So that's how you solve the problem. So there, it's a short statement that's giving you the problem, which is that we can't go to school because of the corona pandemic. What is the solution? The solution is African Teen Geeks through the lockdown e-schooling. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope I've explained in that regard. Number 3 in IDMEC is make. So what is this make? Making is finalizing the 2 initial freehand drawings. Ladies and gentlemen, remember what we said. Freehand drawings are when you draw something this should have been said in the first term rather, is when you draw something without using a ruler, without using a compass or any other device. You are only using a pencil and you do not stop drawing. It's freehand. It is very rough in terms of how it is. So it means that each and every product that we are thinking about, you need to have 2 rough freehand drawings of what you want to design and what you envisage and imagine in your head, excuse me. After that, you draw what we call a detailed drawing, wherein you show your specifications. So what do I mean by that? You show how big a certain side will be, how small in length or width, whatever will be, what will you use to make that product. So in fact, you need to draw three things: 2 drawings, which are freehand drawing. The last one, a clear one that is showing us all the details in terms of the length and all the relevant specifications. And the third drawing, ladies and gentlemen, must be in 3D design. What does it mean? It means the D in 3D means dimension. So it means that it must be 3-sided in terms of how it is and in terms of how you are drawing it. So it must have the length, it must have the breadth, as well as the depth. So those are 3 sides that must be showing clearly in our 3D drawing. Remember that sentence again: IDMEC, which the I stands for identify, the D for design, and the M for make. So let's look at the 4th and the 5th steps in the design process, which is the last 2. The 4th one is evaluate. Evaluate means that you are checking or testing something. So you are constantly checking if you identified the correct problem. Remember, sometimes you might think you came up with a solution, but as you are continuing, you realize that no, your solution is actually not applicable or it's not practical. So evaluating simply means, did you establish the problem correctly? Are you solving the problem in regards to, is this really the problem? And is this one of the easiest way to solve it? Because if then you find a difficult way, then you might not even solve that problem, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, if you check the current problem of learning, we are saying that the problem is that we can't go to school because we'll then spread the virus. But now if we say, for an example, no, maybe 10 people can go at a time or at a go, maybe that's not the best solution, because of the 10, one might be sick and therefore might actually infect the other 9. So it's one of those things. So what is the solution that is actually best? The solution is everybody self-isolates, everybody stays at home with their family and friends and whoever is closest to them, and people are able to access learning in this type of a format. So that would be an example of evaluating a problem. So the last one is communicate. So we want you to communicate the whole design process. So what does that mean? You need to tell us, how did you get to the solution? So your communication can come in a form of writing notes. Of course, the drawings, ladies and gentlemen, in the making are a form of communication. And there's a topic that is also in technology called graphic communication. We'll touch on that tomorrow, but in a very, very short way, because we will not, remember, we will be revising technology from term 1 today and tomorrow. So we don't want to over-exhaust that. So we'll touch on that graphic communication. So that means that we are using pictures to communicate. And we want you to keep records of this. And then at the end, usually which is found in what we call a PET. Remember, a PET is that long activity in technology that's out of 70 marks. It is very, very long. And right now, according to the CAPS curricula, it is the only activity, for an example, that you do in term 1. Which means that if you don't do anything, if you don't do it, then you get a 0. So, but what is the PET? A PET is where you apply all the 5 steps of technology to solve the problem. So in the rubric, in the PET, you'll find that there are marks for you to present how you went about to solve the problem. So that also touches and ties on communication. I want to just stop for a bit and have a look at the Q&A so that I can try and respond. There are 62 published responses so far. Hi, Shoni. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Anonymous, for that. I really am glad that the song assisted you. Thank you so much. All right. Yes, Amo, it takes a lot of practice. Amo is still speaking about the first 20 elements that, because of the songs and the mnemonic devices that we use, she was able to learn all the elements, but not the symbols. Remember, it takes time and we cannot learn them in the 2 lessons that we've done. I'm actually very proud of you, Amo, that you've learned the elements themselves. Remember what I said, Amo, in a lot of instances, the first alphabet or the first 2 alphabets are the symbols. In hydrogen, it will be H. In helium, it will be He, but unfortunately, that's not always the case, as we've seen with potassium as well as sodium. But thank you so much for that. Okay, thank you so much, Lebu, that the song assisted you. Tiana is saying technology is about being concerned for the environment. Tiana, that's absolutely correct. So technology is about solving a problem, Tiana, but also in you solving the problem, you need to be wary of how you are affecting the environment. So absolutely correct. Thank you so much, Tiana. Tiana, you are correct. I like that you said that at the end. Tiana is saying it's also about finding a practical solution to a problem. Absolutely. Yes, Lebu. As I've said, in the previous term, which was term 1, the only task that is done according to the curriculum, which is CAPS, is only the PET. So that is a practical, also a theoretical aspect, wherein you must touch on all the 5 steps. I'm happy to hear, Kiandra, that your teacher played you a similar video as to the one that I played you right now when we're speaking about technology. Thank you so much. Welcome, Khumuto. Thank you for joining us. Yes, Kiandra, I had announced at the beginning of the lesson that we actually completed the syllabus for Natural Science Grade 7. So as of today and throughout the period of having these lessons, we will be focusing on Technology Grade 7, same time, same place. I hope you'll still be joining us because it's also a very important subject. So thank you for that question as well. Yes, Amo. Amo is asking a similar question to that, but we are still waiting for an assessment that we are going to do that will test us in terms of what we have done for the 60 marks in natural sciences. Yes, Kiandra, remember the jaws of life, very difficult to do. Mutswedi is back. Welcome, Mutswedi. I haven't seen him since we left Zoom. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mutswedi, for being here. Next time, come here at around 3 p.m. and then we can all start on time. Thank you so much. So let's continue. All right, so there are important words, ladies and gentlemen, that I might not have touched on in the design process or steps themselves. The first word is design specifications. The word specifications comes from the word specify. So that tells us that you are specifying something. You will tell us what the product you are designing will look like and how it will work. So you need to be very specific here. So if you are designing, for example, a house, which is actually what is designed in the 4th term. Remember now in the 2nd term, what we're supposed to be designing is a cell phone tower. And maybe that's what I need to be speaking about as an example. So if you design a cell phone tower, you need to tell us how long the cell phone tower is, what you're going to use to make the cell phone tower. Is it going to be silver because you're using wires, or will it be brown if you're using cardboard, etc. And then number 2 is the constraints. Constraints, ladies and gentlemen, are things that limit you in terms of designing your object or product. So because of limitation, you can't design a cell phone tower that is too big or too small, because it will require a lot of time, a lot of material. And when you are taking it from home, if you're doing it at home or at school, how will you move it from home to school or vice versa? So such things are actually what we call constraints, which are limitations. Number 3, the evaluation criteria. Now, what is this? These are a set of questions that we use to see or check or test if at the end of your object you have met the design brief successfully. So what are we saying? You say, did I say I wanted to solve the problem? Have I solved the problem? Is the length correct? Is the width correct? So that is the evaluation criteria. And remember, this word is used largely in languages. When they are assessing us in creative writing, they use a criteria to look at our language, to look at the structure of our wording, to look at the content, or if everything that we are writing about is in fact making sense. All right. So what are the takeaway points from today's lesson, ladies and gentlemen? The first thing is that technology is important to meet the needs of people and the wants. So that's number 1. Number 2, there are 5 steps in which we can remember in technology using the mnemonic IDMEC, which I stands for identify, D stands for design, M stands for make, E stands for evaluate, and C stands for communicate. So if you can memorize the word IDMEC, you will remember all 5 in the order in which they should be. The last objective or the last thing that I want you to take away from this lesson is that design specifications are more details about the product that you are designing. So those are the things that were important. Those were things that were objectives of this lesson, and I hope that's what we have learned. Ladies and gentlemen, here is an activity for us. I apologize if it seems a bit long. Again, may I please just ask, let us remember and let us try to screenshot or to watch these videos again on the YouTube channel on African Teen Geeks, so that we can be able to do these activities and we have a more interactive lesson at the beginning, so that before we start a new lesson, we can test and check if we are all going up in the same pace. So question number 1, we want you to explain according to your own understanding what technology is. What do I mean by that? Do not use the explanation that I gave you or an explanation that is found on the internet. Use an explanation that I gave you, or from the internet or even a textbook, but in a way or in words that you understand. So don't write it word for word, paraphrase if you have to. What does that mean? Use synonyms for certain words so that you say it and it belongs to you. The second question, name the 5 steps of technology. I already gave you the 5 steps. I simply went back to the second takeaway point. It's right there at the end of point number 2. So write the 5 steps in the order in which they agree. Now they appear. Apologies. Number 3, I'm giving you a scenario problem and I want you to assist me in solving this problem. I am saying as a scenario, since the lockdown, you have been struggling to plan your time correctly with regards to attending the African Teen Geeks lessons for the different grade 7 subjects which are being offered, and then revise them. So what is the problem here? You are struggling to attend all the classes. After attending all the classes, maybe take down notes. After taking down notes, do an activity like this one and maybe prepare for the lesson. So this is a scenario that I'm giving you. This is the problem. So number 3A, write a design brief for this problem. So give me a short statement. Remember, design brief, it's a short brief statement that tells us the problem and the solution. So write that for us, write the design brief, number 3A. Number 3B, suggest one solution of how you can solve such a problem. Again, ladies and gentlemen, screenshot these. Use any paper maybe in front of you and a pen to write the key points of this activity so that we can be able to deal with them tomorrow when we meet. I just want to look at the Q&A. I see that we are running out of time. Thank you so much, Theari, for alerting me for that. Tiana is saying you will need to evaluate your product to ensure that it does solve. Yes. So that's what evaluation is. Checking whether you've solved the problem correctly. Tiana is also saying that the brother did the cell phone tower and it seems really hard. It is not hard per se, Tiana. I would say a bit challenging. It's just about understanding the structure of the cell phone tower itself. I will assist you as we are going in term 2. That's one of the things that we are going to be doing. And maybe when we go back to school, it will become easier for you, Tiana. That's the whole point. Levers were actually done in the previous term, which is term 1, Tiana. Thank you so much, Tiana, for all your questions and interactions. They are very positive. I truly, truly appreciate. And everybody else, I see Lebu is also here. Guys, I really appreciate this. Thank you, thank you. I cannot be more than grateful. All right. In the next lesson, we will be looking at mechanical systems, and Tiana, levers are an example of mechanical systems. So in revising term 1 tomorrow, we will be doing a touch as well on levers. So yes, definitely that's what we are doing. Lebu, technology is about drawing and design. It's not necessarily Lebu. It's not just about that. Technology is about solving a problem so that people can make life easier for themselves. However, in solving the problem, there are drawings that are involved, and that is part of planning. So thank you so much for that question. Thank you so much, Mutuedi. I really appreciate that you enjoyed this lesson. I'm also shocked, Kiandra, that we have 5 minutes left. I don't believe it as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've left the slide for the activity for a couple of minutes as I was going through the Q&A. I hope that was enough for you to take down the notes. All right, so these are the links that I used to find the videos. So you can definitely have a look at those links so that you can also be able to learn further by yourselves. So tomorrow, what are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Tomorrow, we are looking at revising term 1, and Tiana asked a very important question. So we are going to look at simple mechanisms or mechanical systems, and we'll be looking at levers. So that's what we are doing, and that is term 1 content. So we are just revising that as well, so that when we continue, everybody's on the same page and everybody understands. Ladies and gentlemen, my name on Facebook is Shanti Songo with an X. You can find us at African Teen Geeks on all the social media platforms, at Izora, at DBE_SA, at Sasol SA. And remember to hashtag Sasol Foundation, hashtag STEM Champions, and of course, hashtag Lockdown is Schools, so that we can create a buzz and we can have more people joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, I truly appreciate this. This has been an absolutely great lesson. Have yourselves a great day. Enjoy your next lesson. I think it's English. Have fun. I'll see you guys tomorrow again at 3 p.m. Shout out to Thierry in the back. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy and take care.